Once upon a time, there was a demented dove looking for something nasty to do. Mr. Dove could get away with the murder of crows, because he was pure white. Flying around, the dove saw an old lady, sitting down at a bus stop, going through her purse. He swooped down and snatched a credit card out of her hand, without her even realizing it. "Ah," he squawked, "now I can buy a Cadillac. If I buy a Cadillac, everyone will think I'm important." Mr. Dove swooped into a Cadillac showroom, and started haggling on a sporty convertible. "I'll buy this one." The salesman asked him how he'd like to pay. "Why, by credit card, of course." The dove brandished a platinum card, which caught the light as he flashed it in the air. The salesman completed the paperwork, and asked the dove to sign the credit slip. Mr. Dove balked because he couldn't hold a pen with his wing. Actually, the real truth of it all, was that Mr. Dove had never learned to write, since he played hooky and never learned anything at school. The salesman went into the back room and secretly called the police. Soon an officer of the law, and the manager entered the room. The dove looked at the salesman looked at his boss, the boss looked at the officer looked at the ceiling looked at the floor, and the floor looked at the door. And in flew the dove's wife, with a wheelbarrow full of bills in her beak. With some quick detective work, the cop deduced that Mrs. Dove had stolen the money from an old man, who was taking the cash he had stashed in his mattress to the bank. Mrs. Dove had stolen it all at one fell swoop. The cop pulled out his handcuffs. He looked at the boss looked at the salesman looked at Mr. Dove, and Mr. Dove looked at the ceiling looked at the floor looked at the door. And in walked the son of Mr. Dove. The son of Mr. Dove said, "Wait! I can pay for the misdeed," and pulled out a checkbook to pay for the car. The son of Mr. Dove had studied to be a doctor, and could buy as many cars as his little heart desired. But then something never been seen in fairy tales happened. The son of Mr. Dove rolled his eyes and looked at the cop. The cop looked at the salesman. The salesman looked at the floor, and the floor looked at the door. The door looked at the ceiling, which opened to a sky with white puffy clouds. And one cloud said to the other cloud, "Who wrote this story?" The author of the story landed by parachute into this very room and said, "I did." The editor looked at him with a raised eyebrow and was about to write with his red pen, "That's an intrusion of the author on the narrative," to which the author said, "So what, it made you laugh, didn't it?"